Take two. Hi, my name's Garth Angus. I've lived in the city of Cape Town for just over 20 years, and for most of that time I've been a tourist guide. In a previous life I was an engineer, and then after that I moved into finance and was managing money before I came to Cape Town. And shortly after I arrived in Cape Town I switched careers, and I'm doing what I really love in an incredibly beautiful city. So a lot of what I do is historical tours. I never studied history. I was always into the sciences and the numbers, and it was only when I arrived in Cape Town that I met an amazing person, a retired history teacher, who started telling me a little bit about the city's stories, and I was fascinated by that and got to read a little bit more, and over a period of time have just become absolutely engrossed in the history of this country, the city. And then as I meet more and more visitors from all over the world, I'm learning about your cities and your countries and your issues and your problems. And what I try to do on my tour is to present our story in a way that's much more meaningful for you. Having read of many of the other countries where our visitors come from, I try to create linkages in the stories that we tell. So for example, many of our visitors would come from the United States, where we have very many similar touch points in our histories in terms of themes. One of those would be the voyages of discovery, for example. The Americas were discovered, inverted commas, 4 years after the Portuguese sailed around the Cape of Good Hope. That's when Christopher Columbus sailed across the Atlantic. So the starting point of significant changes in your country and ours was pretty much exactly the same time. And then similarly, there's a period of where the Dutch were involved in colonizing parts of the Americas, and the Dutch were involved in colonizing here. And then the British arrived, and the British took over from the Dutch here, and you also have a period of British colonial occupation of the United States. You had a period of slavery in your country. We had a period of slavery in our country, and slaves were released, we were freed in your country if you come from America shortly after the Civil War. Whereas slaves here were freed about 30 years before that under British rule, when the British had taken over from the Dutch. So what I try to do is I try to create linkages to make your experience much more interesting and much more relevant than just me spouting out a series of dates and issues which you're probably going to forget by dinner time. So what my real passion is I love history. I'm an amateur historian. I don't claim to be a professional by any means. I love the outdoors. I love hiking that mountain there. Frequently, probably at least 2 or 3 times a month, I hike up to the top of that mountain, or else mountain biking on that mountain. It's an incredible resource for us to have. If you're a surfer, we have the most amazing beaches around here with beautiful white sands. So your experience in Cape Town is an experience that's not simply about the city. We have so much of a rich tapestry of history. We have incredible sceneries, both mountain sceneries and sea sceneries, and that's what we'll do with our experiences in Cape Town with you, is we will show you these places, but hopefully experience them. And if you enjoy perhaps going for a walk, or going for a jog, or going for a cycle, those are things that we can arrange and we can do with you. And it's just the most beautiful place to do that. And we have amazing weather here. I'm sitting talking to you 2 days before the middle of our winter. So it isn't perhaps an unusually warm day today, but our winter weather is generally our rainfall season. So for the northern hemisphere, June, July, August, you're in your summer. That's generally our winter, which is what we're in right now. But we have some of these spectacular days, like today and yesterday and tomorrow. We're having 3 consecutive days of really lovely outdoor weather. And so for many of you that are coming down to Cape Town after or before going to the Kruger National Park or some safari experience, it's a wonderful thing to do, to combine both the city with all it has to offer and the game viewing experience. And I'd love to be your guide and take you around and share some of the sites, but also hear what your interests are, and then try to adapt a tour around your interests, and then develop an experience for you in Cape Town along with the big five, who know the city and who know the game reserves a lot better certainly than I do the game reserves. But this is my stomping ground in the city. I love the outdoors, I love the history, I love drinking wine, although I'm not a wine specialist by any means. And then we have some incredible sceneries and incredible stories to tell. So do come and visit us in Cape Town. It's an amazing place. Best time of the year, well, I don't know, there are so many good times of the year. This is in the middle of winter, and our winter time is actually a great time for safaris. So to combine those two is fantastic. Our summertime temperatures get up to probably around about 80, 85 in the peak. We do sometimes get hotter than that. But summertime is also a great time to come and visit. And that's when you'll spend time on our beautiful beaches, in addition to the mountain and the wine country and the city, which is just behind me. This little peak that you see behind my head is Devil's Peak, and the park that we're on is known as the Rondeboch Common. This is the common where every Saturday morning, along with probably 17,000 other park runs around the world, people gather and do a 5-kilometer jog around this park. The really quick, fit people do it in 16 or 17 minutes, and you have others that walk with their dogs and might take an hour and a half to do a park run. And that's also a fabulous way to experience South Africa if you are active. Go to all these little places and on a Saturday morning join up with the crowds of locals and do a 5-kilometer jog around the park or along a scenic beach run. Anyway, so that's me, that's some of my interests, and I'd love to welcome you to Cape Town at some point.